Welcome to Intel Studios Veterans Matter live stream broadcast, the first live stream broadcast for veterans in the tri-state New Jersey, Delaware, and Pennsylvania areas.
Good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of the Veterans Matter live stream broadcast. We welcome all our audience, and it is our sincere hope that today's broadcast will assist and enlighten you, or at least let you know that there's help available if you need it. If you would like your friends to participate in today's show, have them go to our website, veteransmatternj.com. Click on the Our Shows icon, then click subscribe. You can also go directly to YouTube. Click the search button, type Intel Studios live stream, then scroll down the options until you see Veterans Matter. Our phone lines are open throughout the broadcast, and Mike will announce when he will begin taking calls. The phone number is 609-798-4475. Please be patient as the calls are answered in the order in which they appear. And now, Veterans Matter with your host, Mike Merlino.
I'm going to ask all of our listeners to please do not call the studio line while our guest is on. If you have a question for me, or you have something you want to pass along to our guest, email me at irskill@aol.com, or you could text me at 609-226-2668. Our guest will be calling in from up in the Poconos, so please do not call the studio while the guest is tuning in. And I would like to introduce who our guest is today. Our guest is Joe Tyson Sr. Joe is a United States Marine Corps and Vietnam veteran. He wrote a book called Unfortunate Sons, the beginning of Marine Corps tanks in the Vietnam War and how he survived as a Marine tanker. So our guest will be calling in shortly, and we're also waiting for our guest co-host, Commander Bill Butler, should be in the studio. He had a little issue with his heating system at home, so he's been held up briefly. And let's see. Hello, caller. Are you on the line?
Yeah, hi. This is Tom McKeown. Bill Butler was wanting me to touch base with him.
How you doing, Tom? Listen, we're waiting for Joe to call in from up there, and once he's on the line, we won't be able to take any other calls. So, if you want to participate in the show, if you have something you want to say to Joe, I'm going to give you my cell phone number, and you can text me. Okay? You ready?
No, I'm not.
609.
609.
Right, 226.
226.
Right, 2668. Okay.
2668.
Right. Okay,
609.
And
266.
right, Joe should be
226.
calling in very soon, so I got to clear this studio line. Okay.
Okay.
All right, Tom. Thank you. Hello, welcome to Veterans Matter.
Yeah, Mike?
Yeah, this is Sergeant Joe Tyson.
Sergeant Joe Tyson Sr.
How are you doing, Joe?
Listen, before I forget,
Yeah,
outstanding.
great to hear from you. I happened to have read the book. was just an unbelievable account of the Vietnam War. I'm sure people have heard things over the years, but if you get a chance to pick up this book, Unfortunate Sons, the beginning of the Marine Corps' tanks in the Vietnam War and how Joe survived Vietnam as a Marine tanker, you've got to. This is a great read. It really is. Joe, but
I got letters, I have emails, everything. But listen, before I forget, all the named operations we were on is right on the last page of the book, 546.
Okay. Now, Joe, before we get...
That's the last printed page in the book.
Okay.
Go ahead. Right.
Joe, before we get into the book, I want to take you all the way back to when you graduated high school. And what was it? Did you already know that you wanted to serve your country?
Yes, I wanted to be a Marine since maybe the 5th grade. And I actually joined before I graduated on a 120-day delay program.
Okay.
So I graduated in June of '63. And September, I was on my way to Paris Island.
Now,
120 days later.
We had already started the war and the war effort in Vietnam, so you had a pretty good idea of what you were getting yourself into. And you still...
Well, not really. Not really. No. It was like hidden from us in the Marine Corps. We were training for conventional warfare with Russia, not a jungle fight, not a guerrilla action.
Wow.
So we had to change the tactics. I mean, I'll go over that. I cover that in one of your questions you asked.
Right. Now, Joe.
I mean, 2 years it took to change the tactics, with people being trained back in the States.
Right.
To do and remember the new tactics, not the old conventional war tactics. These were completely different. And we had to learn it quick.
Well, Joe, in your military bio, it said you joined the Marine Corps in September of '63. Now, you
and '59 was the start.
When did you?
I'm sorry.
When did you actually get sent to Vietnam? What year was that?
It was 1965.
Okay. When you originally enlisted, how many years did you enlist for?
4.
Okay. So
and then 4 in reserve for a total of 6 years.
So you end up over in Vietnam. The story is tremendous, and your book. When was it that you had decided to be a Marine tank? I mean, did you decide that was going to be your MOS? Right.
That was my choice.
That was your choice. Wow.
No, that wasn't my choice. I wanted to go in the air wing. And, whatever you want, you never get it. You go where you're needed. That's it. With the Marine Corps. Don't ever believe them. So I ended up in tanks, on-the-job training at Camp Lejeune.
Right.
2nd Tank Battalion.
Reading
which they came up here last year, because, the Marine Corps lost or got rid of all their tanks.
Right.
And the 2nd Tank Battalion, I was the last member of the 2nd Battalion interviewed before they closed the books took the tanks away, and that everybody either left the Marine Corps or went in the Army. And they came up here, 2 of them, a master gunnery sergeant and a counter guy, and he interviewed me about when I was in 2nd Tanks. That was the last interview they were going to give.
Okay. Joe, I want to get into the book a little bit, and one of the things that surprised me, and maybe it wouldn't surprise other Marines or other branches that served in Vietnam, was that it seemed like you were never around the Army or any of those. It looks like the Marines had their own kind of battles. They didn't mix the two.
Yeah. Like when we were with the NATO forces over in Spain, southern Spain, around Cadiz.
Right.
We never operated with any army there. We operated with Marines. Okay. And that's it. We never saw any army. I mean, the only next time we saw some British in the Canary Islands when we were on Liberty, and that ended up in a big fight. And somebody took my cover off my head and said, "I'm going to take this cover and give you mine." I said, "I don't want the cover." Right. And that was the start of it. Another John Wayne.
Once you got to Vietnam and you were at Da Nang and south, during that time there,
I Corps.
Right.
Vietnam was in the Marine Corps was split into 3 corps. Actually, the Army too. I Corps, which is 1 corps, and that was in the north, and then a 2nd Corps started around the Chu Lai area and further south, and then 3rd Corps was all Army, and then 4th Corps was all the way at the bottom with nothing but rice paddies down there. That was all Army too, and that's the way it stayed.
Okay, and the whole it seemed like in your book, all your experiences, all the operations and everything, you never really seemed to come across the United States Army personnel.
No. I mean, we had a few, later on, the Army moved up from 3 to, they were in 3 Corps fully. But they came up to Chu Lai, and then the 1st Marine Division was at Chu Lai, and they were moving the 1st Marine Division from Chu Lai up to Da Nang into our positions. Right. And then I'm trying to think of that operation. It was a giant operation, and it was all the Marines moving north. And there were so many Marines on that operation, that's what it was, Hastings, that they called the 3rd Marine Division anymore. They called it the 3rd Marine Amphibious Force, because it was like 2.5 divisions. But they were moving up all their final destination was in Z. And kicked some butt there, which they did. And then I had no buddy of mine was in the hill fights, and I always kid him, I says, "Tommy, you did so well in the hill fights that they rewarded you and sent you the caisson." Got a kick out of that.
One of the things I really found interesting was when you got promoted in the field to Sergeant E5. By the time you got out of the reserves, had you seen another promotion or?
No, I didn't. I was actually the inactive with the reserves. Okay. And they never call the inactives up unless there's like a world war or something.
Right.
But if it was going to be in Vietnam, they would have never got me back there. I'll tell you that. They'd have to put me in chains.
One of the things you mentioned pretty early in the book, it was on page 23, about when you arrived in Vietnam, and you're talking about the leadership on the ground.
Oh, brother, yeah.
And that was surprising to me, to some extent, that you were dealing with such poor leadership while you were fighting.
Well, like I said, the Marine Corps was trained in conventional warfare. All the stuff in the States, and even we went over to Spain. That was training for conventional warfare. I mean, where we went, we trained. It was for conventional warfare.
Right.
And I mean, when I got there in Vietnam, I knew right away we'd have to change the ground tactics. You have the infantry in front of you. When you're firing in the front, you'd be killing your own men. So, but that's the way it always was, because they were the eyes and the ears of tanks, the infantry. We always got along with them. Very good, because we supported the hell out of them. We were glad to do it. But they went to the rear of us,
right,
or the sides, and back towards and beyond the sprocket, just a little bit behind us, because if our tracks picked up an AP mine, sometimes they could get them caught in the track. It could go off and injure them.
Right.
So you had to keep them back. And then also when you traverse the turret, you didn't want to be blasting right over their heads.
Right. Now
because, they'd all be holding their ears because they won't be able to hear anymore.
You seem to have had a pretty good relationship with Captain Ward when he was the commanding officer.
Yeah, I couldn't get in touch with him. I had to change his name in the book.
Oh.
I mean, he never did anything except great things. His name was Captain Lee.
So
I tried to contact him for years.
That was going to be my question.
He was a great warrior. He was a leader. He would go with you.
It was so interesting when you were talking about when you would go out on a maneuver, on an operation, and some of the leadership didn't know how risky it was to get into some of the rice paddies, because you seemed to know in the book that they were trying to draw you in to get stuck so they could...
Exactly. Like if you saw a rice paddy and it was flooded and there was no rice growing in it, because that's the only time they would flood it, is right before they harvest, they flood it.
Right.
So they get a good harvest, the best harvest. And but if there's no rice growing in there, that's going to be an ambush. And if you go out there, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Now,
and
if you're careful crossing if you're careful crossing the rice paddy, it's only 18 inches of mud.
Right.
But it's very slippery. And if you're out in the middle of that and you get an ambush from the other side of it from, deep bunkers,
right,
you could fire all day with your 90 millimeters at them, and you're never going to hit them because they're underground. So, and then what they would do, you try that, you empty out all your ammo, and then they just take a self-propelled rocket launcher and just blow you out of the water. That's it. And then you're trying to maneuver to get away from them, and that's when you get stuck.
Right.
So
now, on a couple of occasions in the book, you actually went against the orders of a superior officer and were willing to take the flak to protect your men, which I thought was just unbelievable. I thought you did, and it seemed to me.
I was taught to respect, senior officers, not senior officers. They weren't senior. One of them was it was something wrong with him. But anyway, they come on there and they would wonder why you're doing this and why you're doing that, and I would take out snipers with a canister round, and they slip out.
Right.
The platoon leader would come out, the infantry platoon leader would jump up on the tank and said, "Do you know anything about fire discipline?" And I said, "Yes, Lieutenant, I just showed it to you." He says, well, you could have used small arms for that. I says, this is a war. You kill them the best way you can. What if they lived and they had you in their sights tonight? He said, you can't talk to me like that. And I says, well, I did. I said, now get off my tank because you're holding me back from my duties. And I swore. And Bennett would be talking through the intercom, and he goes, man, just don't lose it with him. He's an officer.
Yeah,
it just really ticked me off.
Also,
but I knew they wouldn't do anything because they needed tank commanders.
Right.
I'm not going to get court-martialed.
The original relationship with Lester, I think it was Sergeant Lester, in the beginning,
mm-hmm.
Once he realized where his place was, everything seemed to improve with him, correct?
Yeah, we became friends there. He was from Philadelphia, too.
And did he make it home?
I tried to get a hold of him. I don't know. But he's not on the wall. I know that. I checked with everybody I knew over there. Now our Gunny, our gunnery sergeant,
right?
He's on the wall.
Wow.
He got killed right after I left. I didn't know that. But a driver, John Sakeley, who drove
right.
The blade tank a lot. And when I was on that, I got to know John. He was a great guy. He's still around. I talked to him. He lives in Florida. But they gave the gunny who had made Master Sergeant, they gave him the tank. And John Sakeley was the driver. I said, they gave Farmer, that was a drill name, Farmer.
Joe,
I couldn't use it.
Before we go any further on this, I want to play a song to honor your Marine service. Here you go.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Now I can sit down.
That's one of the wonderful
things. That brings a tear to my eye.
The Marines always stand when I play that song. And Joe, did you ever come down here to New Jersey for the Marine Corps Law Enforcement Dinner?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Great thing.
Yeah, I know a bunch of them Medal of Honor guys.
Yeah, once that Marine Corps...
I got pictures of them downstairs. And
right.
Say again, Mike?
Joe, we're going to go back to the book a second. And very early in the book, you had mentioned about the asbestos. Now, I wasn't sure if that was on the ship coming over or in some of the early tanks. What was your experience?
Well, the ship coming over from San Diego, do you mean?
Right.
That was the USS Gaffey. Now that was an old World War II troop ship, but it was in very good condition, But man, we were way down at the bottom. There wasn't any more ladders down anymore. We were on the bottom, and the right side of the ship were all dependents. Going to Hawaii or to Okinawa or Yokohama to Japan. And we had a nice trip on that over. But some of the other scales I was on, like the old LSTs, I was on a lot of them at a Camp Lejeune. We'd practice landings and, with the infantry at the Onslow Beach, all that stuff.
Right.
And they were just, oh my God, horrible.
All right. Now, Joe.
Canvas racks, right up 5'6" high, right against them pipes. It got all this wrapped in asbestos, and it's all like half falling off, a lot of it. And I said, and I didn't think they really knew then how dangerous asbestos was, but it was there. I didn't get near it.
Joe, we're going to welcome Commander Bill Butler to the studio to join us here. I know you and Bill are very good friends, and
years, yeah.
Bill,
good man.
Joe Tyson,
and great Marine.
Yeah, Semper Fi.
What do you say there, Big Bill?
How you doing? Been a long time, Joe. Long time. Haven't seen you in.
The only Marine that had a duck going into the VFW bar through the door.
You know, that was one of the things, Joe, in your book that surprised me so much was the availability of beer out on when you're in the middle of operations and stuff.
Well, I never let my crew drink on an operation, but
well, back at
I
your
did
camp,
it a couple.
I
was under control.
Back at camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave us what the heck was it? 2 cans a day. They gave us. Now, if we were going to the field for a week or for a month,
right?
You know, the supply sergeant would get his pencil out and he'd go, "Well, how many men? You got 4-man crew. You got times 3 beers a day. You get like 5 cases of beer."
You need more than 2. You needed more than 2 cans of beer, Joe. Come on.
Oh, I know. I'm telling you about it now.
Yeah, right.
So I would give him we had this funny money we used over there called MPC.
Yeah.
I'd give him a $5 bill of MPC, and he'd give me 5 more cases, so we had 10 cases of beer.
Amazing.
But
I said, okay, this is going to be good.
I'll bet it tasted good.
You know, Joe, when you in the beginning.
Well, you know,
up on
go ahead, Mike.
In page 37 of your book, you were talking about originally about the blade tank, and at first I was like,
the blade tank.
It seemed to me like a piece of construction equipment, but that was used pretty extensively on operations, wasn't that?
Oh yeah.
Was that a lot more dangerous than your normal tank?
Well, at times, because sometimes you're out in front of the lines, you know, clearing fire zones, you know, like knocking down jungle. So if the infantry was going to be there for a while, they would have to clear field of fire. Right.
Now, Joe.
And one time we got a bamboo crate in there. It was a very dangerous snake.
Really?
He was driving. He goes, hey, I think a snake just got in here. Right through, he had his hatch open. And I looked down, and there's a snake going right over my boot.
Oh, man.
And I got up fast because they didn't even have the thing that could save you. You only had like a time to smoke a cigarette if they this little skinny snake, green snake.
When you talk about
bamboo crate, but
some of the
go ahead, Mike.
Some of those operations, and you talk about moving like from the beach area, then it would be a little bit of brush. But when you talk about actually moving through the jungle with a tank, it's not like going through a forest here in America. It looks like the tank was able to just...
No, you can't see. You can't see, 5 feet in front of the tank.
Wow.
And they would dig into these spider holes that could actually... It would be like a one-man foxhole, but they would make these lids for them. They were ingenious. They would take the weight of the tank.
Wow.
And we'd go over them, not even know they were there.
Yeah, that when you...
But I developed a tactic for that, though.
When you talked about the tactics that you were using in the beginning of your time there in Vietnam where you didn't like to see the tunnel rats go in and they would use napalm, and how the
we would use a napalm.
Well, the powers that be,
they would go in there with a 45 and a flashlight. I said, what, are you crazy?
Right.
I says, we got a flame tank with us. We'll bring it up.
But then
we'll dump the whole load into the main hole, and then we'll go back about 30 or 40 yards, and we'll fire a WP round into that hole. And that hole, you would have seen what happened to the area with the smoke coming out from other holes, and they're running, on fire.
Wow.
But
and then the infantry would just pick them off.
Some of the tactics that you described in your book, like when they used the exhaust from the vehicle to
that was Lieutenant Lockyer.
It must have been demoralizing.
Came up with that. Well, we got a call from division. It came down through our CO. Do not use the napalm in the holes anymore. They said it's inhumane. I said, inhumane? What could be more inhumane than them?
Exactly.
Killing people, children.
It is unbelievable that when it comes to what our military is allowed to do, it's always one way. They don't, it'd be nice to see some of these politicians get on a tank and go through it with you. Then their opinions might change.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'd like to have them come out here and do some of this shit and see what they would do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, Joe, I got a comment on this one on page 382, man. I think this describes you pretty accurately. Your company, Gunny McDonald says, "Come here, Tyson. I want to talk to you."
Farmer was his actual name.
He said, "You got to be one of the most arrogant, envelope-pushing Marines I ever met. But you are one of the best in the bush, and I cannot discount that. That is why I let you get away with this SH, But I'll tell you,
that's why I did that crazy.
Only you could get away with that. It must be because you're from Hill Creek."
I said, hey, why don't you arrest me, Gunny? Put me in the brig. I need a good night's sleep anyway.
Yeah.
He said, I ain't going to do that.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna do that.
Right. That's great.
Joe, reading the book, there was, it seemed that there were no race issues in Vietnam, and that
no.
The person next to you didn't care what color they were. Did that change?
No. I had a lot of friends that were black. We had one guy in the second platoon was an Indian. I forget what tribe he was with, but he was the one that took care of Chico the monkey with the second platoon.
Right.
And let me see, I'm getting all out of line here. But
would you say by the time you left Vietnam, things had changed, or from what I talk, and Bill, we've done a show like this for many years. It seems like all the combat veterans that we've talked to, they never cared what the race was of the person next to them. All they cared was that they had their back.
No. I mean, it's the way I was raised. I just,
right.
You just judge a man by his character, and treat him like he treats you.
A few times in the middle of the book, you mentioned Vietnam veterans against the war and all the propaganda that hurt the war effort. Did you already have a good idea of what that was going on while you were there, or is that recollections once you got home?
No, I had an idea of going on because I would letters and like from my cousin Tom, who was home by then. He would tell me what was going on with the hippies and things. And I thought the hippies movement was enveloped by the communists.
Wow.
And, I read a book, I think it was called Matterhorn. I had it out because I wanted to look at a few things, but my wife had company here all skiing, and she put the book away. I don't know where she put it. But I always kept that out because it's like one of the best books I ever read on Vietnam. But it totally exposes this Vietnam veterans against the war. The leadership of them weren't even in Vietnam, ever.
Right.
They were embedded with socialists.
Propaganda.
Right.
Propaganda, yeah.
Yeah, Joe, I'm going to play a song to give ourselves a chance to catch our breath. This song's actually, it's called the 8th of November, and this battle, narrated by Chris Christopherson in the beginning, actually took place while you were
Yeah, I
there.
like him in the song.
And we're going to play this and let you catch your breath.
Sure.
On November 8, 1965, the 173rd Airborne Brigade on Operation Hump, War Zone D in Vietnam, were ambushed by over 1,200 VC. 48 American soldiers lost their lives. Severely wounded and risking his own life, Lawrence Joel, a medic, was the first living black man since the Spanish-American War to receive the United States Medal of Honor for saving so many lives in the midst of battle that day. Our friend Niles Harris, retired 25 years United States Army, the guy who gave Big Kenny his top hat, was one of the wounded who lived. This song is his story. Caught in the action of kill or be killed, greater love hath no man than to lay down his life for his brother.
As he left South Dakota to fight for the red, white, and blue. He was 19 and green with a new M16, just doing what he had to do. He was dropped in the jungle where the choppers would rumble with the smell of napalm in the air. Then the sergeant said, "Look up ahead." Like a dark evil cloud, 1,200 came down on him and 29 more. They fought for their lives, but most of them died in the 173rd Airborne. On the 8th of November, the angels were crying as they carried his brothers away. With the fire raining down and the hell all around, there were a few men left standing that day. Saw the eagle fly through a clear blue sky. 1965, the 8th of November. Now he's 58 and his ponytail's gray, but the battle's still blazing his head. He limps when he walks, but he's strong when he talks about the shrapnel that left in his leg. He puts on a gray suit over his airborne tattoo, and he ties it on one time a year, and remembers the fallen as he orders a tall one and swallows it down with his tears. On the 8th of November, the angels were crying as they carried his brothers away. With the fire raining down and the hell through a clear blue sky. 1965. On the 8th of November, the angels were crying as they carried his brothers away. With the fire raining down and the hell all around, there were few men left standing that day. On the 8th of November, the angels were crying as they carried his brothers away. With the fire raining down and the hell all around, there were few men left standing that day. Saw the eagle fly through a clear blue sky. 1965, the 8th of November. The 8th of November. 8th of November. Said goodbye to his mama as he left South Dakota to fight for the red, white, and blue. He was 19 and green with a new M16, just doing what he had to do.
And welcome back to Veterans Matter with our guest, United States Marine Corps veteran and veteran of the Vietnam War, Joe. I want to go back. The one part of your book when you talked about getting blown right out of the tank. What was that experience like for you? That must have been just unbelievable.
Well, I don't really remember because I was unconscious before I hit the ground.
Wow.
Lucky the tank commander's hatch was open. It was up at half mast, to protect my back from snipers.
Wow.
But I just went out like a rocket.
Man.
And
I can actually
I come to when the
after reading up to that point, all of the way the loader and the gunner worked and the firing of the different weapons on the tank, I could almost feel it. It gave you a sense of actually being there. The book is that good. It's as good as any movie I've seen. I'll tell you, it was. You did a great job of bringing the war to the people.
Thanks for the kind words, Mike.
You mentioned, and I didn't realize, 1965. You were already talking about the smell of the herbicides in a gathering that was Agent Orange,
smell.
And how the stink of it was,
Yeah, and then the tank tracks would churn it up even more.
Wow.
So,
and they dropped that on us, and it right on top of us one time. I mean, we couldn't even see. They put a light oil in that chemical,
okay,
so it sticks to the vegetation.
Right.
But it also stuck the tank turrets and back of the tank and the top of the fenders where you walk. You couldn't even walk. You'd slide off. You'd be like 20 feet to the ground.
Right.
So we had to take all those tanks up to Hill 327, our battalion, and have them all pressure washed with steam to get that stuff off.
Wow. Well, Joe,
I mean, you couldn't walk.
You don't have to answer this. You don't have to talk about this if you don't want to, but were you affected by the defoliant Agent Orange?
Well, I have some cancer, some skin cancer, not the serious ones, but all cancer is serious. But I just get, I go once a year, every 6 months now for a full body scan.
Right.
I don't go to the VA. They didn't have a dermatologist up here in Wilkes-Barre, so they sent me to Geisinger, which is a really great hospital. And then I had some nose surgery done on the side of my nose. Did a wonderful job, and they take good care of me.
Well, you have gotten a lot better. Bill and I, I'm saying it had to be about 6 or 7 years ago, we did an interview with a United States Navy veteran who served on a ship out in Cameron Bay. His name was John Berry. He was from Pennsylvania, and he had 6 different cancers related to Agent Orange. And at that time, the Blue Water Navy vets couldn't get coverage. And we had him here on the show.
Man, I used to see them boats once in a while.
It's really sad. 58,000 names on the wall in Vietnam, and over 200,000 Vietnam veterans have succumbed to the effects of Agent Orange.
Well, he's since passed away, didn't he? He passed away, didn't he, Mike?
He passed away on New Year's Eve about 3 years ago. Very sad, yes.
Well, Bill, you remember Pete Reynolds, right?
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah. Pete,
he used to go. He'd take the I forget what they call them boats. They'd unload the barrels of Agent Orange onto his boat, and he would take it into the port.
Right.
And he told me how many times this stuff spilled on him.
Yeah.
And
well, didn't he?
And he's dead now.
Yeah. Well, didn't he get a bladder transplant or something? He had cancer of the bladder or something, and they actually did it.
They turned him down.
Right.
Turned him down. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And yes, it was the first successful operation.
Right.
For that. Everybody else died.
Yeah.
For that.
When you think about all the Marines that went through Camp Lejeune and are now suffering because of the contaminated water there, because you were at Camp Lejeune during that time also.
Yeah, I put a claim in there for the same cancer I did for the Agent Orange.
Yeah,
maybe I got it from the Lejeune. I don't know for sure.
I mean, they're not very helpful. I was talking to somebody there, and and this guy on the other end says, well, he actually said, well, how do we know that you were on base? I said, well, it's on my DD 214. He says, well, I need orders. I said, where the hell am I going to get orders from, man? I said, ain't that your job?
Orders?
Yeah. Ain't that your job?
Oh, man, give me that guy's phone number.
Yeah.
I'll talk to him.
Well, then he says, well, listen, he says, you have to go to your own civilian doctor and get him to diagnose you first and then come to us.
Crazy.
I'm like, they really discourage you.
Well, what they've done.
Well, usually when you put a claim in, they will send you to a VA.
Right.
That's where they, forget what they call it, but that goes in for evidence if it comes up positive.
Well, according to this guy, he said you have to get diagnosed first, and then go, and they'll make a decision whether or not, because I'm diabetic, I got atrial fibrillation. There's a lot of presumptives on this list.
That's all in there. That's all in there, Bill.
It is crazy.
Hey, look, man, I'll get I got a psychiatrist who can help with that, and he's good.
Good. That's what I need, a shrink.
And he'll put the claim in for you. He'll put the claim in for you.
It's
right in his office. Right. You don't even need a service officer.
They're almost sending Marines to lawyers outside of to get it taken care of. So
they take 40% of the settlement for lawyers.
Yeah, they ain't doing you no favor.
Yeah,
and then
we still don't know if you're rated for that. If you get a settlement outside of the VA, they're still not sure whether or not it'll come back and force you to give up money that the VA's giving you.
Right.
Nothing's definitive yet.
Well, I checked into that, and then just yesterday,
And
I got the information back. They cannot take any disability away from me that you already have.
Right.
wow, that's great because
I know Biden said that would happen. He's wrong about everything anyway.
yeah, you
The
know,
only thing he'd be right to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
the way the government works, like on the civilian side, if you have you end up on Social Security disability and then get a workers' comp claim, you got to pay Social Security back. So that's good. I'm glad.
Well, no, I had a Social Security disability because I had I was a contractor and I couldn't work. I think I quit it. I was like 62 or 65. I couldn't climb ladders anymore with all the arthritis from the injuries I had gotten.
Right.
And they put me on to Social Security disability, but when I turned 65, I couldn't collect that anymore.
Wow.
Right.
Because I was...
Get regular Social Security.
Say, well, now you're just going to get the regular Social Security.
Right.
I don't know why not. That was it. I wasn't cured, you know.
Yeah.
Really?
Listen, they don't give you these benefits, these disability benefits that you actually pay for because they're in love with you, you know. I mean, it's you got to fight them. You got to fight them tooth and nail,
they
too.
think it's coming out of their own pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think that, right? You know, Joe, getting back.
Yeah, well, they hired him.
Getting back into the book, you talked about a military vehicle, and I'm not sure I got the right pronunciation. Athos or
Ontos.
Ontos, yeah.
I certainly wouldn't want to have been on one of them out in Vietnam.
No, they were gas operated. They were not a defensive, or they were a defensive weapon. That's all. You know, like for a perimeter or something. I used to see them out on operations with us. One RPG, the whole thing's gone.
Yeah, I can.
And they're all dead.
Well, the kid.
You remember Charlie Isley, don't you, Bill?
Oh, absolutely. Sure.
Remember?
Sure, I do.
He got killed in Ontos.
Well, so did
he got killed in Ontos.
So did Lynch.
Jimmy Lynch
from Cheltenham.
Jimmy Lynch.
Yep.
Wow.
Yes.
He went back
on his second tour.
And he was on an Ontos and got hit by a rocket propelled grenade or something, and it killed him.
Yeah. Well, his cousin.
They were one-man tracked vehicles, weren't they? I mean,
they had a commander, a driver, and a loader.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they were like. Well, I had a relative of Jimmy's who wanted to know the details on when he got killed.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, you really don't want to know that, because I had a lot of experience with getting the after-action reports. That's how I remembered all this shit.
Right.
Because I couldn't believe somebody was back there somewhere in the back writing everything down, every report, even every radio report you made was written down. And that's what it brought it back into my memory. And it was a very difficult book to write.
I'm sure.
Because it was like living it all over again.
Yeah. How long did it take you to write, Joe?
It took me a year. I think it was a year and a half of research.
Yeah.
Because I had to research all these after-action reports, not only from tanks,
right,
but all the infantry units that we were with,
right,
attached to.
Sure.
And even the artillery and the
Joe.
Any units we were with, it was always after-action reports. They all had them.
Right.
I want to take you back and explain something to me. You get ready to go out on an operation, and you mentioned a number of times about range cards that were utilized in the field. I couldn't get a grasp of what you used them for. What was that all about?
Well, that was for night fire. where you can't see. We didn't have infrared scopes. We had an infrared searchlight, but we only had a pair of binoculars to look through that, and that was zeroed with the main gun. But our other weapons were not interfaced with that infrared. So we had anyway, you would make a range card up anyway. If they tell you you may have to do some what the heck did they call that fire? It was harassing fire at night, like 3 o'clock in the morning. They'd wake you up and they tell you number 6 on your card. Fire 15 rounds. Just to those coordinates, and I could tell you how that sets up.
Okay.
You have like a little stake with a piece of plywood on it, and you take the front of your main cannon, and you put like a string. You put like with Scotch tape. Well, not Scotch tape. On that. What the hell? We just tied it on there and made like a crosshair on it.
Right.
And then you would line up on that range card. You would bring your turret around, and then you would open the breech inside on the tank, and now you're looking down through that tube at that crosshair. And there would be different targets all across that card out there, and it'd be numbered. And you put the crosshair on number 1, and then your gunner's in his seat. He has an azimuth reader to his right, and where that's where it traversed from 0. So, and just tell him mark that one, right? And he writes it down. And you go to the next target, then the next one, and the next one. How many? There could be 15 of them on there.
Wow.
And if they called you at night, they'd say, okay, fire 10 rounds on number 6 target.
Right. Now, Joe.
And he would already have number 6 written down. He could go right to it. But we also used them on if we were out with the infantry, like in that if you read about that forward infantry outpost there at Marble Mountain. It was near a leper colony.
Right.
For children leper colony.
Now,
which I knew the nun. Oh, I didn't know the nun. My neighbor knew the nun. Remember the Mellons that lived next door to me? Bill?
What's that, Joe? I didn't hear you.
Remember the Mellons that lived next door to me?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, sure.
On Argyle Street?
Yes.
Their one son became he was a Marinol missionary.
Yes. Wow. Yes.
Bert, his name was.
Yeah.
And that nun that ran that little hospital there.
No kidding.
I used to bring sea rations down there to give them to them, because it was all kids,
Yeah, that's.
And I asked her one time. I was going by there. We had our load of sea rations for them, and I noticed all the kids in their little yard there had a bamboo fence around it, and they had Baltimore Oriole T-shirts on.
Wow.
yeah,
I got to find out about this. So
yeah.
I just told Bennett, I said, grab the sea rations and take them in where you always put them. And I walked over to her. I says, where'd you get these T-shirts? She said, so this is a Marinol mission. We're based out of Baltimore, Maryland, and these are the Baltimore Oriole T-shirts.
Amazing.
They sent us. So
About that.
I said, my mother sends stipends to the Marinol missionaries because our neighbor was one. His name was Bert. You know what she told me? She was from France, but she spoke perfect English.
Right.
He said, Bert Mellon from Philadelphia? And they're, yeah, that's it.
What a
Small world.
No kidding. You know,
I wrote my mother and told her that story. She wrote back. She says, "I don't believe that."
Wow.
I says, "Well, believe it."
Yeah, unreal. That's that's like hitting a number. You know, unreal.
Yeah.
They do it.
Well, I hit the big wheel in Atlantic City for $5,000. I mean, whoever does that on that big wheel?
Yeah. You do. You got that luck.
I did.
You got that luck.
I said, "Come on."
Yeah.
I said, "Come on, Tracy, we're getting out of here."
Oh, they want to keep you.
That's where I got the gas.
They don't let you go. They want to give you a suite. They want that money back. But
Yeah, I still got that in my safe. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
I'll never touch that.
That's great, Joe. That's great.
Joe, I want to take you back to your time in the tank. Every tank seemed to have a gunner, a loader, a driver, and a commander. Correct?
Yeah, that's medium tanks. We had Patton 52-ton combat loaded tanks, and there was a 4-man crew.
Okay. How much room did you have inside a tank? I mean, could you move?
I think it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad. And I tell you, I've been on the new Abrams tanks.
Right.
I actually had a ride on one for June before they got rid of them. They have less room inside the turrets than we had in those tanks.
Wow. Now,
their loader has like 12 by 12. That's his space.
Right.
But they don't have the rounds anymore.
Right.
They don't have the big rounds. They got little things, and the shells burn up. Right before they go out of the tube. You ever see one fire? The big flame.
Yeah.
On the end of the tube. That's the shell burning up.
Wow.
It's a composite.
Well, you better
that
not.
They are, and then
you better not get in the way of that recoil in there, because, like you said, there's not much room, and if that thing goes off and that breech comes flying back and hits you somewhere, you're going to be in a world of hurt, man.
Well, that's what happened to Dave Bennett, my loader.
Right.
When we were in Gitmo. He got hit in the head with the breech.
Wow.
Oh, no, that wasn't at Gitmo. That was with we were firing at Onslow Beach.
Yeah.
In June.
Right.
Jeez.
I
looked down, he's laying on a turret.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that he was seriously injured?
He still has a scar from the center of his forehead all the way back to the crown.
Wow.
The crown of his head. He still has a scar there.
Unbelievable.
He had like 500 stitches.
Yeah.
Joe, they talk about today's Army and the heat they went through in Iraq. What was it like? And how did the extreme heat and humidity affect you guys?
It was draining. Absolutely draining. Drain the energy out of you. It was horrible. The heat was horrible, especially in the tanks. They were hot. Yeah. I lost. I went in over there. I was 150 pounds, and I lost. I was like 110 pounds when I came home.
Wow.
And when I was at the airport, when I flew in, my mom and my dad and my sister-in-law and my sister came to meet me down in Philly Airport. And they walked right by me. They didn't understand. They thought I was some homeless guy. I said, "Hey, Mom, where you going?" She said, "Is that you?"
Well, it's funny. Every picture I see of the Vietnam veterans in country, they all look very thin. They all look like they suffered.
Very drawn in the face, too. Drawn in the face.
All right. We mentioned how difficult it was, and you mentioned beating a fanatical enemy. They were pretty well trained, the Viet Cong and the NVA.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were.
Joe,
and those little spider holes I told you about.
Did they have?
I mean, we got a. Go ahead, Bill.
Did the North Vietnamese have the armament, like armor-piercing rounds and everything, or were
yeah,
they well?
Yeah, it was all supplied by Russia.
Yeah,
right, of course.
They were that well equipped.
And China.
Yeah, wow.
They were well equipped. The VCs too, you know.
Right.
Right.
But we got called out on a. There was an artillery. I think it was the 10th or 11th Artillery. They had their own base that was maybe 2 miles from where we were at Marble Mountain. They were further south, and they had their own guys doing their perimeter security. But they got hit, you know, with the VC or NVA, whatever it was. I think it was VC, and with machine gun fire. And we were there in minutes.
Wow.
And the fire stopped, and they were nowhere around. I mean, we searched the whole area. They were still there. They were still there. And when I didn't realize it then. Just thought they vamoosed quick.
Right.
They were still there underground.
Unbelievable.
Joe, I got a really special song that I want to play for you. So just I'll give you a couple minutes break, but this is especially for you.
Well, thanks, Mike. Good man.
In this dirty old part of the city where the sun refused to shine, people tell me there ain't no use in trying. Now, my girl, you're so young and pretty, and one thing I know is true: you'll be dead before your time is due. I know. Watch my daddy in bed at night. Watch his hair been turning gray. He's been working and slaving his life away. Oh yes, I know. He's been working so hard. I've been working too, baby. Every night and day. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We gotta get out of this place. If it's the last thing we ever do, we gotta get out of this place. 'Cause girl, there's a better life for me and you. Now, my girl, you're so young and pretty, and one thing I know is true, yeah, you'll be dead before your time is due. You know it. Watch my daddy in bed at time. Watch his hair been and turning gray. He's been working and slaving his life away. I know he's been working so hard. I've been working too, baby. Every day, baby. We gotta get out of this place. If it's the last thing we ever do, we gotta get out of this place. Girl, there's a better life for me and you. Somewhere, baby. Somehow I know it, baby. We gotta get out of this place. If it's the last thing we ever do, we gotta get out of this place. Girl, there's a better life for me and you. Believe me, baby. I know it, baby.
Well, that must have brought back memories to you, Joe, because you guys took that as your theme song over there.
Yes, it did. Absolutely, yes. And that was right out 1965, that song was from.
You know, I wanted to ask you a question. When you got blown out of the tank, did you lose your transistor radio?
That was... No, I had to get another one.
That must have been like...
But I had that big thing with our radios. We used to blast it. Until we got a sniper ran or something, I'm there, shut that thing off.
Yeah.
That's great.
You know, one of the questions here, I know you've mentioned in the book Operation Golden, Operation Fleet, Operation Liberty, Operation Yukon. How many operations did you participate in?
12, but actually 13 named one.
Right.
I said, let me go to the back of the book here. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, one of the
There's
things
one that's not on there.
I thought was real interesting.
Operation Piranha is not on there, so there's 13.
You know, Joe, you would tell the commanding officers or the ones who participated on the tanks, you wish they didn't wear their rank on their lapels. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, the platoon leaders were usually a second lieutenant or a first lieutenant. And they would, you know, I don't know what they thought they were doing, but they're just a big target.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, with that, I mean, they knock out the leadership. They aim at them.
Right.
Just like they aimed at tank.
Unreal.
Amazing. It really was.
Joe, I wanted to ask you, what, and you've probably been asked this a million times, what made you sit down and put this book together, so, you know, in the fine fashion that you did?
Well, I was suffering really bad when I got home. I thought I could lick it, you know, by just, you know, getting back to work and, you know, raising kids but no, you can't do it yourself, you know. I was self-medicating with alcohol and it was really bad.
It's real, man. You see,
and, it cost me a wonderful lady who I was married to divorce me.
Right. Wow. That's tough to talk about, man. I admire you for, you know, for even bringing it up. Because most.
Well, I mean, you just got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
and then say, look, I can't do this myself. Yeah. You know, I tried AA and I would get pissed off in there, but I went to the VA and I got counseling.
Well, you know,
I had this good psychiatrist. Go ahead, Bill.
You know, as long as I known you, and the time, you know, that we were in the canteen down there on Martins Mill Road, I never once, and I mean this, I never once heard you talk about this. Never.
I didn't talk about it for years.
Never mentioned a word about it. And you know, now
I didn't want to.
Right. Well,
I couldn't.
Most heroes.
I was hurting inside, though. I'll tell you that.
Most you know, the loud mouths that did everything, they're the ones that did nothing.
Right.
You know, I'm telling you, I never heard you talk about it at all. You know.
No, I didn't. I didn't want to even think about it. And the more I tried to forget it, the more it came back.
Right.
You know.
Joe, let me ask you a question.
And
you have listed here all these awards and decorations that you achieved, including 4 Bronze Stars, but you actually turned down a Purple Heart. Do you regret that?
2. Yes, I do now.
You do now? And
I do regret it now because there's certain benefit that go with that. Right. But I just was not in a position to. I was in. There was a Quonset Naval Hospital, a small one at Marble Mountain, and that's where they took me.
Right.
And I figured, oh man, this is my ticket out of this shithole.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. Because I asked the doctor, I says, okay, when am I going onto the plane? You're going to fly me to Japan or Okinawa or maybe Philadelphia? He goes, you're not going anywhere but back on that operation you were on yesterday.
Joe,
your gunny sergeant is going to pick you up tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
I don't know who your
but I'll get you Purple Heart. I said, I don't want it.
I don't know who your commanding officer was on that particular operation, but I know today that there are Vietnam veterans that have been able to get Purple Hearts if they could get their commanding officer to say they should have got one. We're good friends with a Vietnam veteran, a Marine Corps. His name's Marco Polo Smigliani. He was given one Purple Heart at a funeral down in Arlington. He saw his commanding officer, and his commanding officer said, how come you only have one Purple Heart? You should have 4. And he ended up getting them. Right. So if you could reach out to that commanding officer.
Well, I tried to get in touch with my company commander.
Right.
And the second one that came in was Captain Coombs.
Right.
And I saw him in Washington some years ago, first time I ever met him. Now, he was my commanding officer over there for, a year. And I never even saw him.
Wow.
I don't think he wanted to go to the field. I couldn't ask him now because he's dead.
Right.
There's got to be some paper trail somewhere that
right.
Well, I got guys that witnessed that I still talk to. Bob Haller was on my crew. He knew about it.
Well, I think
Shakley knew about it. Bennett was on the tank.
If you could get it,
Charlie Dorn, well, he's dead. So.
I think if you go to your congressman, you could have a really good shot of getting that. I wouldn't give up on that. You deserve them.
Well, lately I've been thinking about that, because they, then it was different.
Right.
Because I turned them down. I was in there. There was Marines in there that didn't have legs. Some had their arms blown off. Right. They were dead already. I said, look, if I'm getting out of here tomorrow, give these medals to them. Yeah.
Well, they're important. They really are. They're your identity, and you certainly deserve it. Bill and I, we. How many times, Joe, have you gone to visit the Memorial Wall in D.C.? I
was there for the first dedication of it.
Wow. Yeah.
I was there when they broke ground for it, and I was there for when they dedicated it.
Yeah. Now, if you were to talk to fellow Marines, a lot of them don't want to go there. Don't you feel that it's a healing to go there? And I think
it's like going to a funeral.
Yeah.
Bill and I actually spent 2 or 3 years at the Memorial Wall interviewing Vietnam veterans, and it was just an unbelievable experience to see.
A lot of them said that that they wanted to put it to bed. I don't know if you could ever do that. But they can't
put it to bed when they're all dead, man.
Yeah, they wanted some closure and all that.
And honor their brothers that were on the wall. They would have reunions there.
Yeah. But some of the items that were left there, unbelievable. High school, cap and gown pictures, and the government, they record all that and they store it in a warehouse. None of it gets thrown out.
Yeah, they're going to put it in that museum they're building underground there somewhere.
They even got a motorcycle. Somebody left a motorcycle, a Harley or something. And
I left some chevrons, and I left an old utility cap down there.
Yeah, so and all that stuff's in the warehouse.
Because that's all. If I had soft cover, that's all I'd wear except the tanker helmet.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, one thing that's going to hit home for you and Bill, In 2010, they moved the Vietnam Memorial from Cardinal Doherty High School. And, why was it moved and where is it now?
It's at the VFW on Martinsville Road, which is named after Michael Crescen's Medal of Honor.
Right.
They were the diocese was going to put it at Holy Sepulchre Cemetery, and the Memorial Society, the ones who collected the money, got the money together for the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Philadelphia,
right,
and the VFW, they notified the diocese that they would take the memorial and pay for all the movement of it over to the VFW on Martinsville Road.
Right.
And I put all that curbing in, that granite curbing. Me and Tony, he's dead now, a good friend of mine. He was a bricklayer, and all that curbing we did in granite.
That's
a lot of veterans. Bob Pollitt helped me.
Yeah, Bob Pollitt.
I had Bob Pollitt. Bob was laying brick.
Well, he's a pretty smart guy. He can figure that out. But that's the right place for that stone, because
and even to where all those neighborhoods around that VFW, them guys were from.
Right. Well, they all went to Cardinal Doherty High School, and in fact, Crescenz is the only Medal of Honor recipient in the city of Philadelphia. That lost his
period. And for the resident for the whole war.
Right. And in fact,
I'm good friends with his brother Joe.
Yeah.
Joe Crescenz.
In fact, he was buried up in Holy Sepulchre.
I talked to him today. And I want him to get a hold of Mike.
Right.
He just published a book about his brother.
Good, and it's well deserved. But I understand that he was interred at Holy Sepulchre, and after his parents passed away, they disinterred him and moved him to Arlington National Cemetery.
Yeah, I was on that trip.
Yeah.
And I had the guy that was supposed to do the thing about the Doherty Memorial.
Yeah.
Swords, I think his name was.
Right.
I sent him that thing, and I put in there I want it back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I never got it back.
Wow.
It's a DVD of that whole.
Right.
When they took him out and took him down to Arlington, and poured rain.
Yeah.
The whole day.
Yeah.
Did you go on that trip, Bill?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
No?
No, sir. No. I was down here then, and no, I didn't go. But
well, you were working, and
yeah. Well, they even named the VA hospital. VA.
I was into that too.
Yeah. And that's got to go through.
They got a beautiful thing down there for to him.
And they got to get the okay from Congress to do that.
Yes. Yeah.
Joe.
And well, we didn't tell them what our politics were. We never got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Joe.
Oh, maybe now.
Yeah.
Take us back to when you were told that you were going to have to extend your time there. How disheartening was that for you guys, knowing they were going to extend your tour there?
That was depressing. That really was. And we were definitely pissed off. That's all I can say. And we got more arrogant because I figured, what the hell, And we never knew until the day we left, the day we got our orders, when we were leaving there.
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy. But what was
And
that last night, Joe, that you spent? You ended up having to stay at the camp before you left. What was that like, knowing you were leaving the next day?
well, that's if I could get out of there. I mean, I talked to that platoon leader from that infantry there, and there was like 3 or 4 tanks there. I didn't know them guys, but I went down that night after the guy came with my orders, my replacement. And I said, "You got anything coming in here tonight? Mail run or something?" He says, "No." He said, "Why?" And I said, "I got my orders." He said, "Oh, tanker, you want to get out of here?" And there, yeah. Well, I said, "Yes, sir," because I didn't want to piss him off.
Right.
But
you know, I love the story.
He says, "Well, if you want to get out of here tonight or today or tonight," he says, "you're going to have to walk out." And I felt like going off on him, but I just held it in. I couldn't do it. I says, "Okay, sir," and I walked away, and I cursed him all the way back to that tank.
You'd be busted.
But that tank commander on that tank, I don't even remember his name, but he didn't even have a map on that tank. I says, "You got to get some maps."
Yeah.
He said, "What for?" He says, "This is an operation. We're just moving north." I says, "You don't know what's going to happen. You could get, dispersed from these guys and be out in the jungle somewhere. You don't even know where you're at." So I don't know whether he got any maps or not, but I would not take that tank out without. I wouldn't even move it without maps.
Right.
But I asked him if I could take over the command of the tank just for that last night, because I knew I wasn't going to be sleeping. And he said, "Sure." He had some new guys there. They didn't know a tank from a '57 Cadillac. And I tell you, that was criminal, sending them guys out.
Sure.
Not knowing anything of it. The big bourbon on a tank.
We have one more song
That was criminal.
we want to play for you, Joe. So take a listen to this.
Sure. Having a good time, though.
Yeah. Break the beer out.
Very relaxing, I got my puppy dog here. I'm babysitting. My wife and all, they all went skiing.
The Eastern world, it is exploding.
There's another dude.
Violence flaring, bullets loading. You're old enough to kill, but not for voting. You don't believe in war, but what's that gun you're toting? And even the Jordan River has bodies floating. But you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Don't you understand what I'm trying to say? Can't you feel the fears I'm feeling today? If the button is pushed, there's no running away. There'll be no one to save with the world in a grave. Take a look around you, boy. It's bound to scare you, boy. And you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Yeah, my blood's so mad, feels like coagulating. I'm sitting here just contemplating. I can't twist the truth, it knows no regulation. Handful of senators don't pass legislation, and marches alone can't bring integration. When human respect is disintegrating, this whole crazy world is just too frustrating. And you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Think of all the hate there is in Red China, then take a look around to Selma, Alabama. You may leave here for 4 days in space, but when you return, it's the same old place. The pounding of the drums, the pride and disgrace. You can bury your dead, but don't leave a trace. Hate your next door neighbor, but don't forget to say grace. And tell me over and over and over and over again, my friend, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. No, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction.
Another one of those great Vietnam era songs that you wrote about in your book, Joe.
Great song. And it seems more true now than ever.
Yeah,
it is, like Joe. You listen to the words of some of them songs, you know, they speak volumes. Like The Fortunate Son.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
yeah.
It's
yeah.
You know, Joe, the experience.
And the unfortunate sons are the ones that never came home.
That's it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Joe, the book is great. What I'd love to try to do when the weather breaks is maybe you can come down. We have a spring barbecue in May. Maybe you come down for a book signing at our post.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Love to have you come down. But let me
heard about your barbecues, man.
Oh, they're great.
After reading this book and all you've been through, I got one very important question for you. Would you do it again?
Absolutely. Those infantry.
Semper Fi.
Those infantry love this.
Yeah, I got that idea from the book.
And we love them.
Yeah, you went in there
Semper Fi.
and you saved their behinds, I'll tell you. You know? I mean, they welcomed that tank fire.
Well, I mean, that was my job. But I'll tell you one thing that was the most difficult thing was being 19 years old and only, maybe a year and a half at a Catholic parochial school, high school. And I would watch the numbers of enemy through our scopes. We had wonderful scopes.
Yeah.
Get blown to pieces.
Unbelievable.
And I wouldn't even want to begin to count of the human beings that were killed by my hand.
Yeah.
And it just really was bothering the hell out of me.
Yeah.
But
you know,
lately I got to talking. What'd you say, Bill?
I just said that, you know, only you can speak to that. I mean, we really can't even comment on that because we never had that privilege or never.
No, but I mean, but that was very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And I knew I had a job to do. I wasn't going to walk away from it.
Yeah.
So I just put it into Laura's hands. Right. That's all.
Sure. Yeah.
He parted the sea or the jungle. He parted the jungle for me.
Well, I mean, nothing else you could do. You know, I mean, if you're worried about that, you'd be, you know, you'd be ruined.
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah. Well, I realize now that I thought there's one parity between me and you guys. I just, you know, and he really opened my eyes. You know.
Right.
He said, "You're doing your job. You know, you're not going to go to hell for that."
No.
Right.
No. You know, I mean, it's you have to, you know, make your peace and don't blame yourself, really. Right. You know.
Yeah, Joe.
No, I did my job. I did my job. I knew it. You know, and I did it very arrogantly and loud, and
did it well.
And that's, you know, and I knew they weren't going to do anything to me because they were so hard up for tankers.
Yeah. That's why you were stuck there.
Well, you know, it was interesting in the book how you made sure the new
Yeah, it was my own fault. We got stuck there anyway.
you made sure that the new
Yeah,
people knew what was coming up. Yeah, because it seems like a lot of the new Marines that were coming in had absolutely no idea what was around the corner for them.
No, they didn't, and especially the tankers. I mean, maybe artillery was the same way, or Antoses, but then a tank crew has to work as one. And if you get somebody who can't do the job, you said get off.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in the middle of the jungle. Well, go back with the infantry. Just get off my tank.
Right.
You're going to get us all killed.
Yeah. It was a very, very, very serious situation and a lot of responsibility for a 19-year-old.
Right. Yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah.
He had $1 million worth of equipment and 3 other lives.
Yeah. That you're
plus the vehicle that I was responsible for.
Right.
And if a second lieutenant gave me an order to do something dangerous, like charge across a flooded patty, I would tell him, no, I'm not doing that. This is endangering my vehicle and my crew.
Right.
And he'd go around to every other tank, and he all turn them down.
Yeah. Well, listen.
And then we laugh.
Yeah. You've been there. You're seasoned, and you get these new guys that want to, they want to prove themselves.
What do I call them? Stair climbers.
Yeah.
Stair climbers to the top.
Yeah. Unreal.
Stairway to the stars.
Yeah. But
they're looking for medals.
Yeah. So, Joe, listen. Tell everybody how you can get this book, where you can get it, and. Online, or is it in bookstores? Or
Amazon is your best bet. Especially if you're a Prime member, you get free shipping.
Right.
I don't get any residuals for the book.
Right.
That's all donated quarterly to the Vietnam Tankers Association.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to market it a little better. I'm not marketing it at all, and it's still got like 4.5 stars on Amazon.
Excellent, man.
And the nice things people say
on
there about it.
I mean, it's a good read, and I'm sure like down the road somebody's going to pick this book up that you were over there with that you haven't seen in years and reconnect with them.
Right.
Yeah, I've had guys call me, Rick.
Yeah, that's great.
Right.
It's such a great book, and I'm impressed, Joe, really, with all the knowledge that's in there and personal stories, and it's just worth reading. It is. It gives you an upfront picture or view of what went on in South Vietnam. With these.
That's exactly what I was trying to.
Yeah. Well,
I wanted the reader in the turret with me.
Yeah. Oh,
that's
you
exactly
are.
how it felt.
Absolutely.
Really
it's like you're there, in a way.
Yeah.
And I salute you.
Yeah, I like people when they tell me that it says now it was all worthwhile.
It is. It definitely is. I mean, it's 500 pages, but it's it goes fast. Once you get into it, it goes pretty fast.
And Bill, what years were you in the Marines?
I went in 1980.
Now, let me ask you a question. When you were in there, did you get to choose if you wanted to be a tank, a Marine tanker?
No, when I went in, no, hopefully you had a decent recruiter, and the only way you went anywhere is if you did.
They didn't mean shit. They were like car salesmen.
Yeah. They you're right. They had to meet their quota each month, but you had to score high on this ASVAB test, to get a decent job, or you went into the infantry, or if you went in open contract, which was just permission for them to send you wherever they needed you.
Right.
And most of the time,
well, they did that anyway, but
yeah, it's true. That's true. You went in into the infantry, you know. But it's Joe. It's
man, I used to feel so bad for them infantry. I mean, we were hot as on them tanks, but at least we were riding.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
They were soaking wet. Their utilities were soaking wet.
Yeah. Were you over there in the monsoon weather?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You ever been wet for like a year? It was terrible.
Trench foot.
I have a field jacket with no liner. Marine Corps didn't have liners.
Yeah.
Only Army had them.
Only Army.
And it would go down sometimes into at night, like into the 40s.
Yeah.
And like after 120 degrees day before,
right.
Now it's 40, and I'm wrapped up in one of them mummy bags,
right.
sleeping bags, trying to keep warm.
Soaking wet,
everything soaked.
Jeez, unbelievable.
You got trench foot, everything.
Yeah.
All them things them guys in the Second War guys talked about in the VFW.
Right, which came true. But you know, as Marines, you know who does a fantastic job, and they really don't get any credit for it, are these corpsmen, these Navy corpsmen.
Oh no! I love the corpsmen.
They were the best, man.
Them guys.
The doc.
That's why they make them honorary Marines.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, they go through the FMF school, and it's just like boot camp. You know, our boot camp, and amongst other things, teaching them first aid in the field and everything. And I'll tell you, they saved a lot of lives, Joe. A lot of lives.
Oh, I know they did. I watched them.
Yeah.
And then you got, and then they put the wounded on a tank, right. And we take them where they can pick them up.
Yeah. And then you remember we had this clown Obama that called him a corpsman, and he wanted to disband them. He wanted them to, he wanted the Marine Corps to train their own, make them, I guess, the Army equivalent, a medic or something. And the commandant said, no way. That's not happening.
Hey, Joe.
Well, that's right. It wasn't the commandant we have now who doesn't do anything with the Marine Corps.
No, I think it was, might have been Dunford, or whoever was the commandant when Obama was the president. And I remember...
I had him when he was in the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I met him at the Marine law enforcement dinner one time.
Exactly.
We had a good talk. Man, he's a nice... he was a Catholic guy who was a big believer in no abortion.
Mm-hmm.
He was.
He wouldn't
talk about that even.
He wouldn't make it today. You know, the way it's woke now. You know, I just read that the Department of the Navy and the DO.
Well, if you had guys like him in there, they wouldn't let the woke be there.
But
you got that Millie. That guy's got a mental problem.
Well, they just disbanded. They just
ever see his eyes?
Yeah, they just disbanded like 3 infantry regiments in the 1st Marine Division and the 3rd in California, 3rd Marine Regiment. They're all disbanded, and an artillery unit.
I know.
Gone. So.
Yeah, and a lot of chopper mag units.
Right.
Going.
So I mean, who's going
to send 3,000? He sends 3,000 Marine infantry to commandant to Poland with no tanks.
Right.
Now, who are they going to fight? The Russians with like 2,000 tanks?
Yeah.
That ought to be good.
And the Marine.
Well, we'll have the drones.
Right, and the Marine Corps is like one of the only branches that met their recruitment quota for the year. Went over it. So why are they disbanding all these units? I mean, it seems like they have the personnel. They're just weakening this country. That's all it's about.
Well, that's it. They're taking it down. Everything about the federal government. They're wrecking it.
Yeah.
They're wrecking it. They're wrecking ball to it.
It's
but hopefully this is going to change now. You know, we got some good people, I hope, in the Congress.
Right. Yeah.
And
we'll see. We can only hope. You know, You just we got to stay and keep writing and keep emailing them and let them know that people are pissed off, you know?
Yeah. And it's not a democracy. It's a republic.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
By and for the people.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, let me ask you a question.
Don't forget the people that aren't.
Yeah.
Joe, how fast
Go ahead, Mike.
can a tank go in open terrain? Like when you were on the beach, how fast could the tank go?
We go down to the harder sand, but because they would never mine, where the water's starting up, and we get 30 miles an hour, and that's flying in a tank. I tell you.
That is fast. That's definitely fast. And if you hit
and then, they burned a gallon. Let me see. I forget what that statistic was. They carry 300 gallons of diesel fuel.
Right.
We had.
Wow.
And we had to refill them every other day.
Yeah. How did they get fuel out into the field?
They drop them in these big bladders, man, and it'd be bouncing all over the place.
Right.
You'd be running after them. Watch out, it's coming your way.
Yeah.
Wow.
All fun, man. Unbelievable.
And then, that really sucked because you had to pump it out with a hand pump.
Yeah.
The hand.
And it's going to take on 250 gallons. That's going to take you a long time by hand.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's four people. It's about 4 hours work.
Yeah.
One of the things you talked about often in the book was the men that went out in the morning to check for mines on the road. How did they do that?
Yeah.
I mean,
they had the old mine detectors they used. It was like on a long pole, and one guy carried it, and he had earphones on. It was electronics. There was a round piece on the bottom, and they would move that across, the road slowly, and they would listen for the metal. The metal, or if it was a plastic mine, they wouldn't get that one because it wouldn't pick up plastic.
Man! I'll tell you.
Like C4, it wouldn't pick up.
You got to check your drawers after, doing that job for 15 minutes.
Joe.
Well, I seen a guy. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
The guys that you talked about that weren't American military, they were. What's the word I'm looking for? You mentioned it in your book.
Mercenaries.
Yeah.
Mercenaries.
The guy from Australia, and one was
they were real people, man. I couldn't believe it was like talking to them. These guys are the real deal, man.
Yeah, that was their job.
Well, they got paid big bucks for fighting over there.
Right.
And in the beginning, they got paid by the scalps. They would take their scalps of the ones they killed, and that's how they got paid.
Wow.
They knew they were out there.
Unbelievable.
They had them hanging on their belts.
This is stuff you don't.
It was like pagan idolatry.
Yeah. This is testimony you don't hear, man.
Right.
It's
yeah, and they were. I mean, they were some crazy dudes, man. I mean, they had something wrong with them to want to have to do that shit every day. But man, the one guy was in the Marine Corps. He was a Korean War veteran. He loved it, and he said, "Where am I going to?" The Marine Corps didn't pay shit.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, "Look," and he told me what he was getting over there. I mean, holy! I said, "If you like it, I guess that's really good money."
Yeah.
It was a lot of money for the time,
Well, some of them can't get enough.
And we're doing it for what, $110 a month?
Yeah. and all the sea rats.
Plus, and all the sea rats you can eat.
Yeah.
And let me see, what else have we? Oh, and 2 cans of beer.
2 cans of beer. That's a tease.
A day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but We had to keep it cool, you know. There's no ice, you know.
Right.
Unbelievable.
That was the gunner's job. He did it in a gunny sack. In case of here in a gunny sack.
Great memories.
And bury it.
Hope nobody finds
it. Way down in the cooler sand.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to go down about 3 feet to get some cooler sand.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know, Joe, I just wanted to let you know that this show will be in Arqueyu if you follow the instructions that I emailed you. This show will be on our webpage, Veterans Matter NJ.
Yeah, I already signed up for that.
Very good. You go to
But
that.
I just didn't have time because I was researching your questions.
Right.
To do it this morning.
Right. Well,
so
what we're going to do is we're going to make sure people know about this book. I think
appreciate that, Mike. Really, I do.
Great job.
And Mike, listen, I send Marines, and you went out and bought that book and read it quick, and that made it so easy for me.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
Because you were really understanding the book, and I explained some things, you know. But
I got a signed
copy. You send me that book, I'll send you your money back, and then I'll send you a signed book. Okay. What do you think?
I appreciate it.
For the next time I'll see you, I'll give you a signed book.
Right. Yeah, hopefully.
And I'll give you the money for that book. I'll take it back.
Hopefully this spring we can get you down to our post and do a book signing. And
absolutely,
really appreciate you spending this Saturday afternoon with us. It's been
it helps me. It helps me. It still helps me.
I've learned so much. I almost feel like I was in the tank with you a couple of times.
I'm telling you, it's an amazing.
To get the sweat.
I love to hear that because that's exactly what I wanted to happen with a reader. You know?
You got me looking for snakes, and I'll tell you.
I'm telling, like I said, Mike, I've known Joe over 30 years, and this really, I didn't know he could do something like this. Not that he couldn't, but it was. You
just thought I was a drunk, right?
Well, you know, Joe, I had a.
No.
I don't know if you ever read the book Duster Man. Joe Bellardo, Vietnam
Duster Man,
veteran. He was a tanker. I don't know if he was Marines or Army though, but.
What was his name again?
Joe Bellardo. He was actually state commander in New Jersey of the Legion at one point.
That's where I heard that name before.
I think he was Marine because he came on the show with Marco Polo one time. The book is, the tank guys seem to be able to write the best books. I don't know what it is, but your book, Joe, like I said, put me there.
That's because they're so hot in there, it affects your brain.
I almost want to get a DD-214 after reading that book.
Yeah. Oh, man.
You know,
but you did a great job, Joe. On this
I mean, a lot of people tell me that, Mike, you know, and they write me letters and they send me emails and now I have a different feeling about Vietnam veterans after I see what you went through.
Right.
All kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
You got a fan base, Joe Tyson.
Not as much as my American lab. He's 110 pounds. He's got a fan base. I tell you.
That's great.
Weighed the same as you did when you came home from Nam.
Unbelievable.
He's my service dog too. He's great. I had to send him out. For professional training because they have a bad disposition, you know, them big dog, and he is big. And he was attacking me and my wife.
Was he really?
I says, I'm either going to shoot him, or you better call that trainer.
And he's a Labrador.
He's an American lab.
Okay.
Male.
Yeah, they're big.
He is. He's a beauty. And the puppy is a silver lab with blue eyes.
Wow.
That's why the only reason I got him. I'm going to breed him.
Yeah.
Breed him outside, that is.
Joe, we only have a few minutes left. And one of the things I want you to, we all know that Vietnam vets were treated horribly when they came home. And
disgusting.
because of that, you guys have never let another generation of military be treated the same way. And I want to tell you, number one, welcome home, and thank you for your service.
Second that.
Well, thanks.
And you're welcome.
Thank you for the wonderful hospitality over the phone.
Well, we're going to see you down here in South
Very,
Jersey.
very easy.
Yeah. And we're going to sign
off. Yeah, I'm good. That's like going into a flooded rice paddy down there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you come.
It's an ambush.
Yeah. If you get here at the right time, yeah, you're right.
Well, if you're ever listening to the show, Joe, every Saturday, 3 to 5, you have something you want to add, you want to call in, you're welcome to. Love to have you.
Well, I would do that, sure. And I would be down there today, but I had a babysit.
That's okay. We'll get you down here.
Yeah.
And I got to thank Commander Bill Butler for setting this all up. And so grateful for him getting in contact with me and putting me on to this great book. So thank you very much, and God bless, brother.
But I tell you, Mike, you do a great interview, Mike. You really do.
Been doing it for a while.
Professional.
I like the way you structure your questions. It's like a lot of thought went into it, you know.
All right, thank you very much, and we'll be in touch. Take care, Joe.
Joe, I'll see you.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Thanks, Joe.
Hey, Bill. Semper Fi, man.
Semper Fi, brother. I'll see you. Take care.
And as we say at the end of every show, Bill, what do we tell everybody?
Well, if you love your freedom, thank a veteran. And thank Joe Tyson and guys like him.